Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the Professor, Greg Dooley, and the Pundit, Steve Clark. Men, take the mic.
The resilience of the Block M wills its way to victory once again. It's the Professor and the Pundit with Greg Dooley and Steve Clark, and we're proudly presented by Nick Hopwood, who's a certified financial planner, founder, and president of Peak Wealth Management. Retire with peak confidence. Visit Nick's website at peakwm.com. More maid service is needed, Greg.
You remember the movie Misery, Steve, with Kathy Bates and James Caan is holed up?
I do.
And he's kind of healing, and then there's that moment when she takes the sledgehammer, and it's horrifying. Kind of felt like that.
God, it's for the best. Hey, please!
Was that the fourth or the fifth turnover, the sledgehammer, Steve? But Michigan beats Northwestern 24-22 in a beautiful atmosphere on a wonderful day.
Oh my gosh.
Let's start, but yeah, we do got to talk about, I guess, the elephant in the room, which are these turnovers and the sloppiness of this game.
Years from now, people are going to remember this game as the one that featured all the turnovers. Michigan -5 on turnover margin. Immediately, I thought, I had a listener ask, hey, when's the last time somebody's been -5 on turnovers and won the game? The last time it happened actually last year. SMU beat Duke in a game that was a -5 turnover margin. Before that, you have to go to 2015, where Marshall beat Memphis. But according to college football stats, and in the aftermath in the last 48 hours, nobody can find really an instance where a team was -5 and didn't force a turnover. So that's the double caveat.
Right.
We're not talking about 6-1 and not talking about 7-2, but -5 and didn't force a turnover. It's never happened.
I did some searches on just the turnover margin, which isn't what we're talking about, right? And I saw in all levels of college football, it's happened. It's about a 4% chance of victory. Again, that could be a 6-1, 7-2. Exactly. I think it is going to be rare, though. If someone's giving up the ball that much, you're thinking conditions, you're thinking other things in play where the other team has none. It was wild. They were painful.
It's also the element of the comeback itself. Usually to have a big comeback, you've got to force a few turnovers of your own, right? Yeah. So, as of right now, nobody can find an instance when it was 5-0 for a total of -5.
It's wild. Now, they will certainly remember that. I do think they'll remember Wrigley first when we think of this game. Second, that we won it on a walk-off, which is a fun thing to say, like a baseball term. And then they'll talk about those turnovers and the sloppiness of the play and the inconsistency of what we saw to some of the players. We'll get into it all. There were some bright spots, including a beautiful version of Next Man Up.
I want to start with that. We're obviously going to think of the game-winning kick. But what about Bryson Kudzil? Before Marshall's injury, he had 3 carries for 4 yards. After Marshall's injury early in the fourth quarter, 12 carries, 48 yards. With the game on the line, they didn't run Bryce. They went with Bryson.
Yeah, and with Bryson in the backfield, you had my man Max Bredesen in the backfield, 2 walk-ons. So if you put their value as freshmen, that's 0, and then you have $10 million in Bryce Underwood in that backfield. Really a cool story. I think it had some people going, wait, who's number 24? But man, he stepped up. He did his job. Props to the Grand Rapids native.
I think it's just a key decision that had to be made. Normally you would think, well, maybe we just need to run Bryce Underwood, and they chose not to do that. It was about putting your trust into a guy who's had very few carries all season long. And so I think it shows how much trust they have in their running back room, and it ended up being a great decision.
Wonderful. And they know their team. Hats off. The coaches are being criticized quite a bit these last several weeks.
Sure.
They trusted a guy that they saw in practice do his thing, and it made it work, man.
Another thing, the defense, they didn't go down with the ship. Northwestern's last 2 drives that followed the turnovers were 2 3-and-outs for a total of -3 yards. Look, if the Wildcats offense could have put this away, just needed a couple of first downs to do it. but they couldn't do it because the defense didn't allow that to happen.
Hat tip to Northwestern. They played their butts off. They hit as hard as anyone hit all year. But on our side of the ball, we got it done. And then there was the 2-point conversion. Not the best executed play by the Cats, but we were lined up properly. I think we would have stopped it if they would have caught the ball. It turned out to be huge, right?
Sure did. Because the game-winning field goal would have been the game-tying field goal.
Yep.
And it would have been into overtime. The line generated 5 batted passes in this one. No sacks for Michigan, which was kind of a surprise, but 5 batted balls suggests that the line was closing in on Preston Stone, the quarterback. There was a lot of little things like that I thought was good. The passing game, coaching staff clearly wanted to work the RPO game that worked so well for them last year when they beat Northwestern 50-6. Sam Webb, my partner on the Big 1050 WTKA, talked about it before the game, that they were going to do this, and they certainly did. Michigan went to the air often when everybody thought Michigan was shutting down the passing game completely and just going with the run. Wasn't just always RPO. They went to the air, and it was 32 passes for 280 yards for Bryce.
Yeah, and he completed, I want to say, the first 9 or 10, which you're like, this is what we've been waiting for. Now, they weren't the most difficult passes, but they were nice, and he changed speeds on some of the passes.
That's the RPO?
Yeah, so you saw some more touch. It was wonderful. So that was great to see.
Andrew Marsh.
Yeah.
Career highs with 12 catches, 189 yards. That's a Michigan freshman record, by the way. His catch on 3rd and 10 for 21 yards was an absolute thing of beauty and avoided that necessary 4th and 10 conversion. Marsh is the real deal. True freshman to keep Michigan's playoff hopes alive, Greg.
9 catches in the first half. Like, I started counting. Steve, I got to watch this on TV. He's flying out of bounds. You see the refs are kind of looking. Doesn't look like he got it down because it was so bang. I don't think the Michigan offense was sure that he got it down. They seemed to rush to the line, and then they just slowed it down to slow-mo, and you just saw that beautiful catch. Those who watched at home know what I'm talking about. And I've had a few people on Twitter go, well, the ball is moving. I'm like, yeah, he's moving 1,000,000 miles to catch that ball. The ball can move a little bit, and you can still have it secured, right? It was secured in both hands. 2 feet down, a beautiful play by the freshman, not a freshman play at all. And he's got to have, all kinds of scouts and stuff just going crazy about him. So it was wonderful.
This is where the talent comes in. You can make a bunch of mistakes, but if you make the one play, you can sort of overcome it. And so there were a lot of mistakes in this game.
There were. But you hinted at another big one, though, which was Bryce's run on 3rd down. When he scrambled, the one time he did carry the ball for a huge gain, he beat a guy and did the right thing and got the first down on a key 3rd down. That was huge, too, to keep the clock moving and to get us better in field position. So solid stuff, but a lot of concerns coming out of this one.
Starting off number 1, Michigan's health again. Better news about Marshall. It doesn't necessarily mean he is playing this week against Maryland as of the time of this recording, but it didn't seem like to be a season-ending injury. X-rays were negative. Possibly back for Ohio State, maybe even possibly back for this Saturday at Maryland. That's something that's in the first and foremost of everybody's mind. Jayshon Barham and Jimmy Rolder played at linebacker. That linebacking core was devastated last week against Purdue with 3 of their top 4 guys being out for most of that ball game. And so, it was nice to see that the 2 of those 3 guys, Cole Sullivan's still out for a while. Don't know when he is going to be coming back. But, those are a couple of things in the health issues, and it's just that time of year. Your depth's going to be tested, and obviously Michigan's running back room had plenty of depth because RB3, a hero to this game in the 4th quarter.
The mistakes, though, by number 19, Steve, the 2 interceptions were pretty rough. He just clearly missed the guy that was just a step outside the passing lane, threw it right to him. Really painful after all that progress we made. Zavada carried off the field, but missed a short field goal early. I can't criticize him for the 61-yarder off the grass, right? I just can't.
It was just in the same spot, just right of the post on both of those. The mistakes with Bryce is something that you live with because they decided to pass the ball 32 times. Before, when you're only passing 15 or 16 times, you're limiting the risks. You're throwing short. No, they said, we are going to pass the ball downfield. And at first, initially, it was done with RPO, but then they actually needed to pass down the field when it was like 3rd and long, when Northwestern was playing the Michigan run game a little bit better. So now it's 3rd and long. Michigan's third down conversion rates from third and long are not very stellar. So now you're forcing him to do these things, and that's just the thing. I think in like the SEC, you live with it.
Okay,
in
you
the
have a
SEC,
good attitude about it.
you take a quarterback and you just let him wing it a couple times, and if you have to deal with a couple of interceptions, I'm going to take the bad along with the good, which was throwing to Marsh on that third down play that dove out of bounds. It got and helped to secure the victory.
No, I think that's a good attitude around it. My buddy Rosie, who's a listener of the show, said, I just hope his confidence isn't shaken. And I do not think that comes into play with this kid. He's not a normal 18-year-old kid. Like this, this is a learning moment.
Exactly.
This is going to go. They're going to look at the film, and he's going to be better. And I'm not worried about his confidence at all.
Sharon said that after the game. He knows there's going to be a couple that he wants back. And so he's going to take that as a learning experience and remember about the other guys cutting away from the other side of the field and not locking in on a guy from left to right or right to left or whatever direction. See the entire field. Michigan allowed only 12 sacks coming into this game, and they gave up 3 in the first half. And then I almost considered a fourth because of the complete blow up on the turnover in the backfield off a reverse late in the first half. Certainly there was some issues up front with missed assignments.
Yeah, and the immediate reaction is what a horrible play call. But you don't design any kind of plays with any kind of exchange in the backfield, assuming that there's going to be a guy right in your grill as you're making the exchange. It looked horrible because it was a toss and a little frisky, right? But if he's handing that ball off, it's probably a fumble too, right? So I'm not even thinking about it now. I'm not that worried, but boy, it sure was ugly. And then there was the fourth down blunder on the handoff. I don't know if we've heard yet, Steve, whether Bryce or whether we'll ever know. It looked to me like he second guessed and was going to pull it out, but it was too late. The arms had already collapsed in the ball.
The whole ball was high. And I don't know if that has to do with the height difference between Marshall and Cudzel. I don't know. But the ball was delivered above the cradle. And there was no way he was going to close down on it because it was delivered to him at like neck level.
Okay.
So,
It
just wasn't going to happen. So
again, more film. I suppose.
Well, what it is it's reps. It's reps with certain people. So how many reps is Cudzel getting when you have Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall taking the majority of them?
No, it's a good point. It's like having a new snapper in, a new center in with a quarterback, and they got to get that feel.
Good comparison.
Yeah, you're right on, Steve. So a lot of film, a lot to clean up, a lot of pain, a lot of sledgehammers on our respective knees and legs after this one. But all in all, a dub and a win. And still in it, still what we wanted, over the last several weeks is that outlook. And, of course, the game looming. We got to get through Maryland next week, who's struggling, and get to the game. Can we get to the game? And suddenly a trip to Indianapolis is still on the table, which is what we want.
How many times has a team struggled, whether it's Michigan or Ohio State? It happens to both the week before the big game. I remember Ohio State won in overtime against Maryland. I think it was 2018 or 2019. And the Maryland quarterback,
wide open guy to win the game.
And if Maryland had won the game, then Michigan would have clinched the Big Ten East.
Right.
Michigan ended up losing that game.
Yeah. I remember fans going, I'm glad they did. Yeah, I was not glad. I'm glad they won so we can beat them and then we lost. No. I'll just take it. Can we just have it?
There was a game where maybe it was 2006 where Michigan struggled with Indiana right before the Ohio State
2023 game. We struggled with Maryland right before the game. What game? Win number 1,000.
Correct.
Yeah. So
you don't have to go very far.
Let's not have that again.
Maryland is a common team between these two, kind of struggling before the big game.
Well, they play super hard, and they don't have the talent. It's kind of like, again, you got to tip your hat to Northwestern. They play hard. They play to the whistle. But they're struggling right now. But the Big Ten's out there, Steve. So where are we in this race? Have you done the math yet? Is it too early? Is it really simple to figure out who goes?
Well, Michigan's losing out on most of the tiebreakers on this one. So any time that you're going to need you're going to need USC to lose again, and then Oregon to lose again, and USC and Oregon play each other. That's one, but then. It's like you need Oregon to beat USC, and then you need Washington to beat Oregon at the end.
So, to be clear, Steve, there is no scenario where, let's skip the Big Ten championship so we can get ready for the play. No. That will never enter my mind in any scenario. I want to win a Big Ten championship. If we can get to Indianapolis and play, say, Indiana, I want to play Indiana. And you're like, well, but we're not winning the national championship this year. Even if we were or had that team, I still want to, A, win the Big Ten championship, and B, prevent someone else from winning the Big Ten championship and give it our best shot. That's what I want.
Gotcha. We had a text information string going on with our title sponsor, Nick on this. And
sorry, Nick.
Well, don't be sorry. Just thought about what happens if you if
sorry
you
on
lose
the
a third
take,
game.
not apologies. I just there's no scenario where I want to finesse into the playoff to avoid a beatdown in the Big Ten championship to get a beatdown in the playoff. Well, I just don't want to do it.
What's worth bringing up, and because I know more than Nick is asking this question, could you beat Ohio State? Now you're at 2 regular season losses. Now you're playing that 13th game that most teams don't have to play. And assuming that they play Indiana and lose, would they be kicked out of that? Or would it be just better off not playing in the Big Ten championship game, take your 2 losses and see what happens to see if they could get to the playoff?
I understand that better. However,
now we understand your view.
They have stated that they do not want to punish people for playing that extra game.
That's last year's committee.
Right. These are human beings.
That's not this year's committee.
Right. These are human beings. I'm still taking the Big Ten championship. Okay. So I'm still taking
last year's committee didn't want to punish SMU and talked to others and quite frankly stated it. It was criticized at the time. You can understand that playing the 13th game that no one else has to play, would you be punished and lose out in that situation? The answer is we don't know exactly.
Yeah.
And we don't know how the committee would view that. There's so many teams with 2 losses trying to finagle their way into the playoff itself, and there seems to be many more contenders right now. Although last year had a bunch of contenders. There was a lot of outcry for Alabama not making it, and then losing to Michigan didn't help.
No.
But there's a ton of SEC teams that Greg Sankey feels deserves to be in the playoff. He said as many as 8 deserve to be in the playoff, and that means only 1 Big Ten team, 1 ACC team, and 1 Big 12 team would fit out the rest of the 12-team playoff.
Yeah, so we'll see.
No Notre Dame either, by the way.
But either way, we got work ahead of us. All of this assumes we're beating Ohio State, which looks tough right now. And I got to say, when Jordan Marshall went down, he didn't seem to be moving his arm. It did. A lot of us went, okay, let's get this one. But now we're looking really bad against
Let's worry about Maryland when we get to play Maryland.
There you go.
I just wanted to add that a lot of pundits out there like myself,
pundits,
exploring all of these other teams that could potentially be that 4th team, and USC plays Oregon this coming Saturday. And a Trojans win could certainly put them in an argument for being included. But a Ducks loss to USC might send them out and could eventually have both teams
I see.
not making it.
Yeah.
I'm sure Greg Sankey would love that. Love that scenario. We'd love to see Oregon lose to USC and then send both of them aside.
There you go. This whole weekend seemed real memorable for a lot of people. They I'm seeing all the pictures. It seemed like maybe this is one of those games, Steve, where I don't know how many seats they had, like 40,000 or something, maybe more, where 100,000 people will claim they were there at Wrigley, but maybe outside. What was the vibe like down in Chicago? And I did catch you. I tried to watch on YouTube, Steve, but there were some technical difficulties in hour 2 where some of the audio was screwed up. But I got to see some of the pictures, which was cool. But it looked like a fun show at a bar down in Chicago. Tell me about it.
So Moe's Cantina is 2 blocks south of Wrigley Field. And what you were saying earlier about, seems like everybody was there. Everybody had the same photo shot right behind home plate with the big Wrigley Field sign. Everybody did that.
Did you have Jansen on?
Well, we did not have Jansen on, but I'm talking about one of those photos behind home plate. It's 7 a.m., hardly is anybody out, and we're doing our own little selfie, and literally coming right to us is John Jansen. And so we said, John, how's it going? And
the big guy.
He took a picture for us.
Very
conventional
cool.
picture up behind home plate.
He
and
may
we
or may
answered
not
right.
have a daughter in my class, and she's wonderful. So good for you, Jansen.
So if there were 30,000 Michigan fans there, I think 30,000 took a picture from behind home plate at that sign, me included. But Moe's Cantina was one of several bars that were rooftop bars that you could go to after a Cubs game or before a Cubs game. But now it's before a football game on one of the warmest November days that you could ever imagine or experience. It was in the 60s. It felt like a bowl game, like if it was in Jacksonville, in terms of weather, or New Orleans. Before the game, it's like 7 a.m. local time when I got there. Not a whole lot of action going on. By the time our show was over, the streets were packed. They had closed off the streets to cars, total pedestrians, and it was just massive. And the reason why we had the show at Moe's Cantina was to help support the Football Alumni of Michigan, also known as FAM, and talking about the services that they provide and mental health awareness. And there was some news, last week about a former Western Michigan player and Dallas Cowboy person who took his own life. It all seemed to be very timely to have this. And lots of alumni came in. It was a big party atmosphere. There were no chairs to speak of because it was standing room only. And of course, like several other places, they all had an outdoor rooftop bar on top of it.
Amazing.
So the rooftop bar on top of it, artificial turf, fire pits, several rooms, clear rooms with clear plastic that, sealed the coldness from entering in those places. So it zipped up with the door. Big screen TVs to watch the game, audio piping through, the top of the tent. That's the bar, of course. And then there was a buffet of food, more bars, DJ music, all of that was going on. The guys had 60 minutes to walk in the door and put the radio broadcast together and the YouTube video together, just 60 whole minutes. And that's why some of those technical difficulty things were going on at the same time. But the atmosphere was absolutely electric. John Beeline came.
I saw.
That's
my guy.
That was really neat. He's your guy.
Yeah.
I have never met him. I don't include meeting a guy when you're a part of 30 or 40 other people in a press conference. That's not meeting a guy. That's being in the same room with a guy, but not meeting a guy. Finally had a chance to talk with him one-on-one for the first time in my life. And I would just tell you, he said one of the nicest things that somebody could say about me and my work. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'll say that's the Steve Clark off the record
That's high praise,
conversation.
man, from that guy.
And that was worth the trip in itself.
I love it.
So
any
thank you to
kind
Coach
of
Beeline
praise
for
from that guy, that is high praise, because that guy, he's the guy, and it's my guy. Like I said, I love him.
And when he was saying those things, I name dropped you too.
Oh, great,
Yes,
excellent.
I know Professor Dooley too. Oh, yeah. So now he knows me from Sam, and now he knows me from you now. So
I love it. I love it. You got some awesome guests, man. Other than Coach B.
Yeah, well, Jared Irons and Sam Sword. I mean, two big teammates from the championship era, '97. Although Jarrett graduated in '96, was not in the championship, but he was basically a part of it.
A legend.
He's basically a part of it. And, he's the vice president of FAM. So he was there and we, lived some moments. Sam was talking about high school days and, playing on the same field with Sam Sword or something like that.
Well, yeah, and there's like a rivalry with Saginaw and Flint guys.
Oh, of
They were
course.
getting into it. It was great. Jared Irons, get this, Steve, is coming to my class this week.
Nice.
They're actually going to come in, of all things, talk about private equity and investing and all that stuff. That's been swirling. Maybe we'll get some time to talk about that. But that's awesome. All right, man. Wrigley. Impression, Steve. Now, did you go up to the press box or were you sitting? How's the press box?
It's weird. I don't want to bang on Wrigley.
No.
Okay, it's just not kosher.
I'm about to a
do
little
that.
bit. But go ahead.
It's tight.
Okay.
It's tight.
Okay.
There is limited seating, and if you have to, think about it. You build a stadium now, and like the Michigan press box is probably 4 times as big, maybe 5 times as big as Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
And Wrigley Field, at the time it was built, you've got to make room for the Chicago newspapers, not even TV reporters, because they probably didn't have a whole lot of TV going on back then.
Not.
You got room for Chicago reporters, the visiting reporters are coming in, and then probably because it's Chicago, national people from, say, the LA Times or the Washington Post, St. Louis. So you could take a camera shot with your camera at regular depth and have the walls of the left side and the right side of the press box completely filled.
Wow.
And you sit in and they're trying to be as accommodating as possible. I felt like I was on Spirit Airlines.
Okay.
In terms of the tightness. And then, of course, it's not all windows. It's like frames. So I'll show you a picture, but it's hard to see sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, ball goes in the air. You have to look around the framing.
Well, sure.
Besides that room, the very next room to the left is the Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt room, TV room. The very next room to that, and none of these rooms are any bigger than the room you're in right now, is home radio, followed by visitors radio, followed by the organ. Take me out to the ball game,
right?
And the celebrities come, and you could see that the celebrities come in and they nook and cranny their way and get to the room and get next to the organ and give them the microphone while somebody behind them plays "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." What you see at Michigan with these wide open hallways and spaciousness, something that you were very impressed in. It kind of reminds you of the old press box prior to 2008.
Yeah, been in there.
But even tighter.
Okay.
Even tighter than that. It was really, really neat. And the only thing that I wanted to see, I left during the final drive, I wanted to see whatever happened within the crowd of Wrigley. And so I got to do that. Mission accomplished. And exited the game.
Great call, man.
Exited the game and then went to the bar scene.
You did it. How was the bar scene after the game?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. So, there was not only Moe's Cantina, there was all these other places for blocks, just up and down, rooftop bar, huge square footage that when the bar is not open looks completely empty and hollow. There just isn't room. The square footage is for the people to stand.
Yeah.
Essentially. And so you have a big game, you have great weather, you have a lot of young people, and it's amazing.
I love it. So Fox struggled with Wrigley. You talk about technical difficulties. They struggled with the camera work in the game, and you fortunately, Steve, didn't have to worry about this because you were there. But they had to kind of manipulate the cameras in different ways, and they had wider shots, and they did a few things. And I've never seen a game, and I'm not knocking it because it was cool that it was in Wrigley. I'm just pointing it out. They completely missed the ball carrier several times, and I think it was a function of being in a different kind of space, and they're not used to the camera work. Like on Bryce's touchdown, they followed the fake handoff, and Bryce was gone and out of the shot. Okay, on the real.
I'm gonna give Fox a break on that one because that play happened at home plate essentially.
Yeah,
I missed it too. I followed the lead. I followed the lead back, and I was so completely faked out on that play.
The back, he made the line and cut at the line without the ball. The back cut. With the fake,
and I still thought
good.
And I still thought he had it.
Yeah,
okay, Greg. That's
good. A great day, a memorable game, and certainly we're talking about it differently because Michigan won. But if you had a health report, a rating, a mood rating, if you will, it's tough right now. We just don't seem to be a great football team, and the record doesn't reflect that. What a nice thing. Mm-hmm. We have 2 weeks to figure stuff out. Maybe we get better, and isn't that college football? We still have hope.
It is. There is a monumental difference between the quality of play of Ohio State versus the quality of play of Maryland. And I won't be surprised if Michigan loses at Maryland, and I won't be surprised if Michigan beats Ohio State at home. Based on all the information that I've had and all the information that we've experienced, and ask a Buckeye too. Ask them what their confidence is of winning this game right now. I think if they were honest, even if their team looks so dominant and Michigan is struggling to beat the lower teams of the Big Ten, there's emotional shrapnel, especially from 2024. Now, ask somebody from Florida or Arizona or the state of Washington, so who's winning that game? It's Ohio State, of course. But Michigan and Ohio State fans know better.
Speaking of Ohio State week, Steve, I will be speaking to the U of M Club of Flint on November 25th. I think that's the Tuesday. So if you're in the Flint area and you want to check that out, look that up.
It is Tuesday.
I'll be talking to the U of M Club of Ann Arbor on December 8th at their regular Monday thing where they have a coach. I want to say Coach Brandon Arado is going to be there before me, but I'm going to be talking to that group.
Well, that'll be the Monday after the Big Ten championship appearance.
That's right. Right. How am I going to get back for that? And then some exciting news, Steve. It's here. Well, it's not here, but we're working on it. And I get so many people that ask me, Dooley, I wish I could take the history of college athletics, the class I teach. Can I sit in it? Can I audit it? And people do. In fact, a group, speaking of the U of M Club of Flint, actually drove down and sat in to hear one of the lectures. We're creating a history of Michigan football, Volume 1. We're starting in the 1800s. We're going to go up through the stadium build for adults. So it's going to be an online asynchronous version of my class that I teach, but specifically about Michigan football. And we're filming it right now. We expect it to be ready early in 2026. If you want more, go to mvictors.com/history, or just go to mvictors.com. I think it's the first post. If you want to sign up for an interest list or find out more about what we're doing. But man, I've gotten a ton of excitement about it since I started promoting this thing. So it's going to be sweet.
Is this a presentation, or is this an online class that people do homework and get a grade in? Or
So we're teaching it like you make it what you want, but I'm delivering a class with quizzes, with suggested readings. You can just sit there and watch the lectures and the recordings. We're going to have guests. It's going to feel more like a documentary, like we're telling the story of Michigan football, but I'm going to treat it like a class with reflective questions that you can consider, with a quiz you can take, with suggested readings if you really want to knock this thing out of the park. On top of that, we are going to offer a premium experience where we're going to meet up in Ann Arbor. I'm going to do effectively a guest, lecture, meetup, networking, all that stuff. It's all going to be available. More's coming out, but right now you can check that out on mvictors.com.
If you grew up in Michigan like me, you were a Pistons fan. We always hated the Bulls and Michael Jordan, but we were super jealous of their starting lineup introductions with the music and the lights turned off. But then I grew up and realized how awesome Jordan was. And in 2016, when Michigan was the first school to wear Jordan brand, then Jordan was on the field as honorary captain for the first game, and I've never cheered louder, except when Jaden Milroe was stuffed on 4th and goal at the Rose Bowl.
Low snap, Milroe stopped! Michigan makes a stand!
Hey, it's Nick Hopwood, Certified Financial Planner with Peak Wealth Management. I want to introduce you to our new PCS program, Private Client Services, where our fees will now include your annual tax prep costs and getting your estate plan set up. Our clients love that their investments, financial plan, taxes, and estate plan are all tied together with us as the lead. If you're looking for a second opinion, please reach out to us at peakwm.com/mgoblog today.
So, Steve, right now we're limping along in the season. If we were a technical IT company, we'd say, we've got bugs, we've got issues, we've got viruses, we got problems. We need a maid. Who's the best maid in the corporate IT world, Steve? Don't call them a maid, call them Maverick. And where can you find them? At MaverickTechnologyPartners.com. The founder, the owner, Tim Adams, I think he's coming back for the Ohio State game for another glorious victory. He knows how to deliver services. He gave me the best definition of personal customer service from a corporate person that I've ever heard. He's coming. Call him. Contact him. Go to their website, MaverickTechnologyPartners.com.
Michigan State has some bugs as well to clean up in their house. This was one of the most surprising things to see over the past month, maybe over the past year, Greg. Tell me more about Michigan State vacating wins.
I'm just going to spend a little time on it, but 3 years of wins, 2 from Mel Tucker. Poor Jonathan Smith, man. Like last year, the few wins they had last year are vacated. Right. But above all, the 2023 Central Michigan game, of which, of course, Central's got penalized. Michigan State has to vacate the 31-7 victory. And, of course, our own Connor Stallings was in the sideline in a disguise for the game. And, I mean, unbelievable. And I got to say, the pearl clutching from the Free Press and national pundits.
Pundits.
About, and just down the road, the worst scandal in history got relatively nothing. In Michigan State, 3 years of penalties.
The issue here is not whether we broke a few rules. We did.
I know that positioning themselves in the Mel Tucker lawsuit, they owe him a lot of money. This is more evidence about how bad he did them when they go and argue this. I get that that's part of it, but it's a bad look, Steve. It's a bad look for State. And the trolling and the receipts on we're world class.
I think there's a lot of ignorance going on all the way around. Michigan State fans are upset. Why didn't they fight it like Michigan? Well, they may have not have fought it so that they could say that Tucker could be fired for cause in addition to being fired for cause of sexual harassment
Right.
to an abuse victim. Makes it pretty much difficult to be able to continue in your job. But in case there is a wrongful termination litigation, which there is, and it's $75 million.
Look what else he was doing.
Yes, let's see what else he's doing.
Right. But on any level, how egregious are we talking about? Of course,
Right.
you can conflate that any way you want. But, I mean, SMU, with 2 penalties already, had contracts of players and cars and all this stuff, and they kept going. Like Georgia,
The entire
Clemson, we know these players are paid.
the entire SEC's existence
Right.
is based on under-the-table payments, and some of them are not under the table. LSU wins a national championship game, and an alumni is fanning out money and giving it to a player on live TV, and everybody looks the other way.
I'll say this, like if Ward Manuel takes an illegal left turn or right turn somewhere, it makes headlines.
Correct.
If this happened to Michigan, like this story kind of came up and there was the social media fun and we're talking about it a little bit, but it will go away at least until Mel Tucker that's settled. If this happened to Michigan, Steve, this would be like Good Morning America. This would make every headline. Sometimes it's good to be a little brother, to not be, in the fray like Michigan is.
It didn't even make ESPN's bottom line crawl that night. Okay. It was 24 hours later before it was even posted in the National College Football page on ESPN. Okay.
There you go.
But I'm kind of laughing because it is really ironic. As much as we talk about the hammer coming down, no one really saw where the hammer was hitting the nail. And the nail was in East Lansing.
It sure was. So they and a lot of other Big Ten teams, Steve, but State with this looming potentially payment to Mel Tucker, you understand why they're fighting it so much, because schools are in debt. Last I heard, over 6 Big Ten schools had over $225 million in debt, right? So why are they looking around for money, which has come up a lot? This UC Investments deal, as the time of this podcast, is hanging by a thread, but 2 schools have objected to it openly. Very openly, Michigan, assumed openly because they're a private school, USC. And it looks like, Steve, the last I heard, that it looks like the whole deal is either you're all in or we're not doing it. To me, that screams, if Michigan's not in it and the whole deal falls apart if we're not in it, we probably weren't making enough in the deal. And some people disagree. It's in a funny way. This is like a populist cause now to fight this, at least on social media and among fans, because people don't like the idea of selling a piece of what we are away. Michigan and USC, in the public opinion, are coming out smelling like a rose. If we crash this deal, like, our regents got to win, whether you agree with it or not. And I have some very smart people to say we're being very reckless here, that we should have just maybe there's some other ways to handle this. And
when you say they're being reckless, they're being reckless and going out and being public against the deal?
Yes, they're grandstanding a bit and unwisely going against the deal. But understand something. Michigan is one of the few states where the voters elect our regents. And who are our regents? They're the board of directors for the school. The president reports to the regents. The regents report to the taxpayers. We've got 2 regents up for election next year. One of those regents has been very vocal. And I'm not saying he wouldn't be vocal in the first place, and that's Jordan Acker. He's been out there talking. He's up for election. He's been the most outspoken. In fact, we're recording this podcast. Jordan Acker went on Channel 84 Sirius XM and railed against this deal, and he's been doing it publicly. So it feels like Acker and the people who have been outspoken against this deal are winning. In other words, they are going to sink at least this deal as it exists today, unless there's a Hail Mary from the presidents or the other regents who say, look, we got to take
Oh.
it. But Michigan doesn't seem to be in the position where we have to take this deal.
Let me add some more context. Here's what I understand so far. USC and Michigan have interim presidents. So they're
Correct.
more than likely going to defer what trustees or boards or whatever they call their hierarchy at those universities are going to be. Michigan interim president isn't going to go off and do his own thing. He's going to let the trustees speak. USC's objection has been more about why they're getting a lesser share, because the upfront money and the yearly money is tiered. And it looks like Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State are going to get a huge top tier, like $190 million upfront. USC's only going to get $140 upfront, so we're talking about 75%. And most of the other Big Ten schools, the ones that really, really, really need the money because they're trying to play catch up and it's failing, they're going to get like a little over half. $100 million. And then it's also tiered for the future payments that go along the way.
Yes.
Michigan's objection seems to be to the whole thing and saying, look, we don't need this money and we don't want to give up a share to somebody else. By the way, fans of hear the words private equity, and this is not private equity. This is something different, but they're putting it all in the same breath. If they want to do this deal, then it's not good for the other people that are involved. Like if somebody wants to come up and say, we're going to donate this money, but in return, you're going to give us something at stake. They have this assumption is that there's a winner and a loser, and the one that's proposing the idea is the one that knows they're going to win.
Well,
so we should just say no because of that thought process to begin with. I find it interesting that in the last couple of weeks, there have been statements at Wisconsin by their AD and the statement by Maryland and their AD saying that their current college football coaches will not only be their head coach in 2026, Luke Fickell and Michael Oxley, but also we're going to support these coaches by giving them more money to play with in the portal and giving them more resources to do other things. And I'm thinking, well, I wonder where they think that money's going to be coming from. Is that money that feel like, okay, we're going to spend the money that we have and do this, or they're just assuming we're getting the money deal to try to keep up with the big boys of Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, but make it sound like we're more committed than ever.
Yeah, there are other nuances here. The grant of rights extension effectively locks in this whole conference in for 10 more years, which there's value in that.
And there's value in that because these schools are afraid of being kicked out. They're going to say,
Yes.
hey, I'm still in the club for the next 20 years.
That's right. And so you're exactly right, though, Steve. This is an investment by a group that represents basically the pension owners and the pension fund. This is old school stuff for the University of California public schools. So another reason that USC might have an issue with this is they're proud that they're a private school. Most are. That they're going to be selling part of their stake to the guys down the road who are the public schools, okay? They're giving part of what they own away, which in that boardroom, I'm sure has come up. But they do, you're right that you could assume that they think they're going to make more than, because of course they are. They invest in companies, in all kinds of funds and things. They invest this money to grow it. They don't invest it out of the kindness of their heart. So you can assume the way they've worked the math is they're going to make out in this deal. And so, yeah.
And we go back to what you said at the very beginning. So many of these schools are in debt. It is sort of like the analogy of Michigan losing Jordan Marshall in the fourth quarter. We'll deal with the Jordan Marshall. Let's just get past Northwestern. And then we'll deal with that later. These schools are going, look, we need this cash now.
I have a structured settlement and I need cash now.
We can argue about whether they'll use it wisely and whether they'll run out of money 5 years from now and need another way to get revenue cash to make up for the difference.
Call J.G. Wentworth.
But the point is they need to solve this now, and they're happy to take the cash and will certainly vote on it. And they're saying, look, if Michigan and USC don't want to play, we're still doing this anyway.
Right. But the latest is the UC Investments came back with a press release and said, it's 18 or nothing.
Tell me, when did that
About
happen?
an hour ago.
Oh, that's pretty fresh then.
Yeah, it's
that's
pretty fresh.
I missed that one.
Yes. So
I missed checking the online services in the last hour.
Yes, this came out, and someone did text me that, but I had already seen it before I came in here, that they came out with a statement that basically said 18, all 18 or nothing is basically what they said as the deal exists today. Now, Michigan in USC, frankly, basically proved that if we object to this deal, it falls apart. So it fell apart on the other end. So that implies that Michigan's is worth more to this deal. If it's not working without us, then you need to pay us more. So the question is, Steve, the only hope for this deal could be that if you give Michigan and USC a win, so the objectors get a win and feel happy, just like in politics. Mm-hmm. You got your data center in Saline. You got your bridge.
No, don't get up on that.
You got your...
Don't bring that up.
You got your...
I don't have time to edit this podcast to talk about the data center in Saline.
You got the data center. You got the bridge. You got the extra whatever percent, and you got the extra capital infusion. Michigan, are you happy? USC, here's yours. Now can we go to the table? By the way, the other thing is there were other bidders in this process. In other words, other groups of companies got together, and these are some of the big New York firms, got together and made proposals during this cycle. Mm-hmm. They went to the highest bidder, which was the UC Investments deal, which now seems to be either falling apart or on thin ice. So we will see what happens.
Gosh.
They want the money. The schools want the money.
You know, the thing is, if it happens anyway, somehow, and Michigan isn't along, they could be potentially a free agent in 2036. And you know, Michigan to the SEC? And how would they be treated? Oh, my gosh. I guess that's down the road.
We left in 1908, Steve, for about 10 years. It didn't go great, but we left. And we played East Coast schools. We did our thing. Could happen again.
You know what? Can you imagine me with more gray hair and a little bit more weight in the middle becoming the SEC expert?
Well, I'll tell you what's more likely is that we would go independent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that we would try to do...
Dan Wetzel talked about that.
We would try to go...
Michigan independent, USC independent, Notre Dame independent, a round robin of those three teams right there.
Guess who else is coming in my class this week?
Huh.
Mr. Wetzel.
Oh!
Of ESPN is coming in. I've never met him. He's coming in. He's coming in this week.
He is going to be good.
Yeah, he's going to be good.
He's going to spread gasoline.
Yeah, he is.
All over the floor and then light the match.
I heard he's ready to take on non-revenue sports and Olympic sports and ask the question, what are they even doing here? Which is a hot button topic, given many of my students happen to play those sports.
Just for a reminder for people who don't know about Dan Wetzel, very, very, very good reporter, very, very opinionated. He wrote a book called Death to the BCS and called the BCS a cartel. As in like a Central American drug cartel.
Diamonds, yes, oil, drugs. That's right, Steve. A cartel. All right. Steve, do we have any time to take a quick peek at Maryland before we get out of here?
Yeah, I tell you, lots of things to talk about. The Terrapins, Michigan's next opponent, on a 6-game losing streak after they started the season 4-0. What started as one-possession losses to Washington, Nebraska, and UCLA has now turned into uncompetitive results with Indiana, Rutgers, and Illinois, although those teams are a little bit tougher than the first three that I mentioned. When things were going well, Maryland relied on their strong defense that forced a lot of turnovers, and on offense, they were much better at passing under true freshman Malik Washington, a top 100 quarterback in his own right compared to Bryce Underwood, in comparison to their rushing attack, which is, as of right now, Greg, the worst rushing team in the Big Ten. Their 24-6 loss on Saturday, they didn't score a touchdown, is being considered the most lackluster or demoralizing game of the season. It was at Illinois, all right, but they're the most lethal at the beginning of the game, making strong statements, but as the game wears on, they start to fade down the stretch. It's debatable whether it's a player issue or a coaching one, but ultimately, even if it's the latter, the players giving up on the season is kind of a coaching issue. And mentioned earlier, you're 4-0 and you're thinking that the program is turned around, and 6 games later, people are openly saying fire Loxley, and the AD is saying, nope, we support him. He's going to be our coach in 2026, and we're going to infuse a lot of capital to help Maryland to be a better football program compared to everybody else. What they're not mentioning in these press conferences is that the money that they're going to use to do that is probably the same amount of money that all the other schools are going to be getting from a deal that may not happen after all. Breaking news from Greg Dooley on that one. And then what do you say after that?
I don't know.
I do know that what basically they're saying out at Maryland's campus is that there is no interest in somebody buying Mike Loxley out. They're just rather just let his contract expire at the end of 2027 and move on from there. We've been bad for 20 years. What's wrong with being bad for 2 more?
Hey, it's not what other people are doing right now. And Fickle finally got a good win. So I as far as the confidence in an AD saying, hey, maybe we should just give him a shot. It's just not what other teams have been doing. No. So there you go. National Roundup. Texas A&M, Steve, I know you were busy, but storm back, their biggest comeback ever against South Carolina.
So I watched them in person at that stadium on the first Michigan bye week. Yeah, you're down 30-3. Who comes back from that? Who comes back down from a 30-3 deficit? Texas A&M did. And by the way, they didn't need the end of the fourth quarter with a walk-off field goal to do it. They took the lead early in the fourth quarter.
Crazy.
Being down 30-3, and there was no scoring in the final 10.5 minutes of the game.
I got a buddy who played football at South Carolina. I gave him a text at halftime, kind of thing, and he said, a lot of game left.
Yeah, well,
there was no follow-up text.
Shane Beamer went off the field at halftime and chastised the crowd. Like, I can't hear you, and he was revving it up. I said, man, that karma thing can come back to bite you.
So game day goes to Pitt, and a lot of times you fall into the hype, like they're going to do it. Coach Dews is talking about all kinds of stuff. They blow the doors off.
Yeah.
CJ Carr is becoming a really high profile quarterback in the NCAA.
No,
so props
he is.
to him.
Yeah, the first few weeks you could see that, and especially with all the other quarterbacks that were supposed to have Heisman-like years just falling off cliffs. CJ Carr is looking like one of the best quarterbacks in America as a redshirt freshman. But I had said this on the pregame show with Sam and Ira. I said having game day going to Pittsburgh was a total waste of time and a total wasted effort even talking about it. Yes, Pittsburgh was on a 5-game winning streak. Yes, they're one of the ranked teams of the ACC that is so dismal this year. But of their 5 straight wins, they came against the bottom 6 teams of the conference. No, they had not faced Jeremiah Love at running back. They have not faced a defense like Notre Dame's. I mean, it was just a joke. This was the week to say, let's go to North Dakota and check on the bison and the jackrabbits or some other, the Battle of New Mexico, between New Mexico and New Mexico. They would have been better served informing the viewing public about what happens in remote parts of the country than doing Pitt Notre Dame.
You were right about that.
Ridiculous.
Good news for Michigan. Tommy Carr, CJ's little bro, from our own Saline High, who had an amazing season, had earlier committed to Miami of Ohio, has canceled that, flipped that, whatever you want to call it. And as of today, he is coming to Ann Arbor. So we will have a car in Ann Arbor. Congrats to Tammy and Jason.
Oh.
I'm excited that Tommy Carr is coming to Michigan.
So the word from Alan True was, Covers Recruiting said that they had an unofficial visit last week in the middle of the week because of the injury to Brady Schmeigel, who's a top 10 quarterback for this next class coming in. Michigan decided that they wanted to bring in another quarterback, and they decided of all the other quarterbacks we want to bring in Tommy Carr.
I love it.
Tommy says he's always been a Michigan fan all his life. I've been looking at that commitment for months, never seeing that change, and it finally changed on Sunday night.
Very cool. So we've got a Carr, a Herb Street in the quarterback locker room.
Right.
It's quite a scene. So very good. Well, I love it. And, health and willing that maybe we'll see Lloyd Carr back in the big house watching his grandson play a football game. Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be very cool. Normally we would have things that only I would care about or you would care about, but we've lost our satellite time. So we got to get going. We'll have something next week, I'm sure. Greg, We're 2 weeks away from Michigan, Ohio State. Got to take care of business with Maryland. It's good to see you again. Been a while. And go Blue.
Go Blue.